Hey everybody, welcome to the TO Desk presented by 956 Productions. I'm Shib. I'm going to be hosting today. This is our new show where we're going to be expanding the voices in the FGC that you can hear, talking about our background as tournament organizers and just kind of giving our input on the things that are happening in the community right now. Bring our unique perspectives to the table. I'm joined by Daryl. Daryl, say hi.
Yeah, what's up?
And I'm joined by Corin. Corin, what's up?
Word, do what's best for the community.
Do what's best. Exactly. And I do want to first introduce ourselves. Like I said, we are 956 Productions. You guys will probably know us for doing Vortex Gallery that we did earlier this year. But in general, we have a large background of sort of organizing events, making stuff happen. All kinds of content that you guys enjoy. There's a lot of people that work in the background, and they have a lot of perspectives and takes and general opinions, and these guys, they do a lot of work. So we want to kind of bring our background as organizers towards the kind of things that you guys can listen to, the kind of input you can get in the fighting game community. So based on that, let's talk to our guys. So Daryl, DJ Kroom on the screen, talk to me. What are you known for? What have you done?
So I'm one of the co-founders of 956 Productions, and our group has been known to do the yearly Anime Evo and Vortex Gallery tournaments that I guess people seem to love. So we're gonna keep doing that stuff. In the meantime, as a player, even though I'm known as a French bird player, I guess my claim to fame is showing up to a Persona tournament with a two-button stick and winning on stream. The memes are plentiful with that.
You'll love to see it. And I mean, like, you guys will know us as tournament organizers, but we've been players for just as long. Corin, talk to me. What are you known for?
Well, I guess mostly as a TO, I'm mostly known for doing like Examu slash Team Arcana games, but like I'm mostly known as like the poverty guy. For a while, people in my community, like there was one guy who started calling me the Necromancer because I would just raise games from the dead.
Yeah. I actually really echo that sentiment. So I've been doing tournaments for a couple of years now. It's a couple of years because it was previously just a year and some change. Doing poverty games, like things like indie games that are coming out in the community, or old arcade games, stuff like that. I started, I think, doing events on behalf of Digital Crafter. Shout outs to them, who did that Fight of Animals, who asked me if I wanted to help him with an event, and I said sure, let's do it. And I was not a particularly skilled organizer at that point. I had done normal things, nothing related to video games at that point. So I was like, oh, all right, well, we're gonna have to learn. And boy, did we learn! And here we are.
Bro, you did like a series of tournaments today too. Like
yeah.
speak
And
on that really quick.
I was just doing our Edit War tournaments, which was a series of tournaments benefiting Mizumi Wiki, right? Which I also administrate in my spare time, and that was kind of an effort to, we talked about Necromancer, like bring out these games that are now available with quality online play that maybe haven't gotten the attention that others would, right? Because there's a lot of legacy behind some of those games. So we did BlitzConf today, Akatsuki BlitzConf, and we did Project Justice after that. And both of those brackets were awesome. Lots to watch, lots of stuff you've never seen before. And we are continuing tomorrow for the final day of that particular event. So I'm all over it right now. I'm doing all kinds of organizing this weekend and last weekend, because we did like 2 weekends. That's what we
Yeah,
wanted
I'm
to
glad
do.
that you found time in your busy schedule to like sit down with everybody to have a quick chat on the status of the FGC right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we that's the thing, right? A lot of people ask, like, they say this. They'll go on Twitter and they'll be like, there should be more voices from organizers, or there should be more perspective, right, outside of players. Not, and not to say we're not players, but I mean strictly players. Like what do the people who make these things happen think about what's going on, right? Like what is their outlook on it? How are they gonna move around that? So that's what we're trying to do here. So with that said, we do have our topics. So first, we're gonna start with the King of Fighters 15. We're going to talk about Nintendo. We're going to talk about Project L, which literally happened, I think, 2 hours before we started recording this. And we're going to talk a little bit about Climax at Night, which is happening right now as we record this. So let's go back to the top. King of Fighters 15. All right. So complete disclosure to the people watching this. We were playing this before we started recording. I had to tell these guys to put down the stick. You don't have silent switches plugged in. It's gonna make too much noise. You guys gotta put that away. But first off, Daryl, tell me, what do you think about the beta?
Yeah, so this beta, I didn't get to go online with it, just so I'm speaking from a training mode, trying out the character's perspective today. And yeah, it's kind of weird. Like a lot of the legacy King of Fighters mechanics is usually about like movement, especially with the hyper hop mechanics. So I'm not really feeling like, how moving around in this game kind of works. Like hyper hops feel very slow, but from a tournament player perspective, like I'm pretty sure like seeing like not being obliterated by rapid hyper hop KO J2Cs will help ease like, the feel bad moments of playing old King of Fighters titles like 13, for example. And
Right.
aside from that, like I don't know, there's only what 6, 8 characters, so it's a very small roster to mess with. I'm pretty sure this is mostly like a
Yeah.
stress test.
8 characters and one more if you know the tech is the.
Wait, what's the tech?
Oh, you guys don't know, huh? All right. All right. So I'm gonna leak some tech. Nobody tell SNK. It was discovered that if you uninstall the game, okay, reinstall the game, and while it's installing, it reaches a point where it says ready to play, even though it hasn't finished downloading. If you pause it, okay, you can enter the game. Now, you can't play online, but you can go to training mode. And there's one more character that they left in if that happened. And you can play as Mei Tenkun if you do that.
Wait. So they decided not to add him to the open beta test? Like, at
I
the
don't
last
know.
minute?
I don't know. Maybe they decided in the patch data, right? They were like, no, actually, Mei Tenkun should not be playable for the beta. I don't know what they thought about that. But the info is out there now that if you want to try Mei Tenkun, you can. So
Good thing that this podcast is like actually not streaming live. So I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure you're planning on uploading this after the beta is
yeah.
already done.
Well, you might. I don't know how long they're gonna run the beta. I mean, especially since there was that issue where players who, they were very public about how you didn't need PS Plus, but then it turned out you did that you needed PS Plus. So I
That's
don't
on
know
Sony's
if
side,
they'll.
though, I think.
Yeah, I don't know whose side is on, but I don't know if that'll maybe encourage them to do an extension of the beta or something. I mean, Guilty Gear Strive beta kind of set a bunch of precedents that now everyone else is kind of following with their testing. So, and that one got extended. So who knows, right? So I did play online. Corin, have you played online?
Only a little bit. I've been on like McDonald's Wi-Fi for most of the weekend, so.
All right. So I have been playing primarily online. I am wired up. I got my PS4 over here wired up to the thing. And I want to talk about the netcode. So a lot of people, if you like KOF, you are going to play this game. It's just, they've been doing a lot of promotion of the game. People had, if you either loved or hated 14, but a lot of people, supported 14 in the hardcore KOF crowd. So the netcode, the rollback netcode that they promised us is the big boon towards people who, would otherwise have not looked at the game. Because there was 13, which awful online, 14, delay-based netcode. People speak positive of it, but it's not rollback. And then people were like, all right, where's the rollback for 15? You guys can't do this again. And then they said, all right, we're working on it. We're going to make a rollback system. And lo and behold, we have a beta test. We have a playable version of the game with rollback netcode. So how is it? I guess we'll start with the gameplay itself, right? The gameplay itself, it's actually very solid. It does not exhibit many of the things that the very poor implementations of rollback in other fighting games have happened. I'm talking about Street Fighter V. It does stay consistent. It does not, lead to a lot of ghosting, like very, janky back and forth animations. The only issue that I can point out clearly is that when there is a long connection and that connection requires a lot of rollback frames, right? It means that there's a lot of frames where it's guessing, the audio will cut a lot. It just cuts, and you'll maybe hear like a portion of the attack come out. Like you'll see it, and it looks very smooth, but the audio, like only half of it will play. And that to me reminds me of an old netcode article that explained that in rollback, it's better to just play the audio, because at least even if the audio is not indicative of what's on the screen, it sounds better to the player. It doesn't feel so janky, right? And so when I hear the characters like exchanging block strings and doing special moves, and like only like a fraction of the sound comes out, it feels like something's wrong, even though the game visually looks great. And by the way, I think the game looks really good. And especially on NetPlay, it looks really good. It doesn't look particularly bad, which was something a lot of people who maybe don't like the first impression of the game are saying, oh, it doesn't look that good. It doesn't look that interesting. It kind of looks weird. But I think it looks really handsome in person is how I'd put it. Because I guess I'll talk about the graphics in a moment, but it does pop very well on a screen when you're playing it. But overall netcode review, I mean, I was just playing randoms in quick casual match and in lobbies, and I assume I was playing very far distances because I was playing, I live in Central America, so most people who play fighting games are pretty far from me. I very rarely get a close connection to me. So everyone who was like 1 bar connection, I was playing them, was just going in, I was having a good time. Now, there are 2 criticisms to make, and obviously this is the point of a beta. One, the ping indicator apparently shows 90 ms or more as 1 bar. And I gotta say, where I live, like 90% of the people I'm gonna play online is a 1 bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing is that the old wisdom about rollback is that you can play reliably up to 150 ms, right? And most people are gonna play games at more than 100 ms. Let's be real. Just the server locations or how far they want to play an opponent. People want to be able to play up to 100, 150 ms. So 90 ms feels very conservative, and also it leaves out way too many connections. Like if everyone's a 1 bar to me, then I can't tell who's even closer to me or who's farther than me, right? Because if 100 ms is a 1 bar and 170 ms is a 1 bar, one of those connections is very playable. The other one is going to be hit with a lot of rollbacks. So
Yeah.
I hope they reconsider. I mean, I imagine what they're going to do is revise it so that the ranges are further out. But just give us the ping, please. Just give us the ping number. Let us make our informed decisions based on the ping number, because it's a lot easier that way. The other thing, talk to me, Corn.
The thing about like ping, like everyone wants ping, obviously. Like it's the generally accepted way of measuring like how fast a connection takes to get from one place to another.
Yeah.
But the thing about ping is it's not like as immutable and definitive and objective a measurement as people think it is, because your connection is like a thing that continues over time rather than just like the snapshot you get of what your ping at that point was. So having bars kind of makes sense because it is just like a guesstimate of a range, because even if you like send a packet back and forth and it says okay 15 ms, like is it actually 15 ms, is it between 10 and 19 ms? Like,
yeah, and this is
not
the thing
quite
where
as 100% as people think it is.
yeah, and this is the thing about like packet loss and being on Wi-Fi and stuff like that, where it's like if the consistency might be 100 ms, but then you'll get like a spike of like 200 or 150, and that'll interrupt the network, right? And other
but
games
when people
with
see their pings, they're like, yeah, my ping is 15, it's rock solid, doesn't matter, even though they're dropping like 2/3 of their packets and they're playing on McDonald's Wi-Fi to the next McDonald's over.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing though is that is why other games have implemented like jitter or other ways of measuring connection quality. And I think a bar is probably fine, but the thing is that the bar is not really explained. Like if the bar is just okay, we sent a packet, here's how long it took, and then we're gonna put it on the bar, then it doesn't do anything. If it's actually like okay, over I don't know 10 seconds we sent packets back and forth, and this is the average MS, and then here's that rated on a bar, that might be more useful. But I don't think that's the way it works, at least for the game.
I
And
appreciate that they gave us like what the ping ranges they're aiming for when they're saying this is a rank 5 connection. Like, I
yeah,
appreciate that.
I mean,
Because at least then there's a metric of like what the levels mean.
yeah, that is definitely nice, right? Because like Melty Blood Type Lumina, for example, the bars don't mean anything.
They don't match.
Yeah, they don't mean anything. You can't tell. I mean, I wish that fighting games in general were not so afraid to tell you what kind of connections you have. Like,
I mean, your cell phone still doesn't.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, I wish, but I feel like something so latency sensitive, right? You should at least say, okay, well, you are connected directly to the opponent, right? And that's where you get like the Street Fighter V relay or direct icon that appears on the screen, right? Like that's useful. Then I can know if somebody is, behind double NAT or something, or like their router setup is really bad, so they can't get a direct connection to anybody. Or, here's the ping, and then here's the average ping. Here's the the jitter that happens. I wish those things were just put out there. They're not. People plug in like routers that tell you this stuff anyway. So I do wish that stuff were taken a little more seriously. I feel like a lot of fighting game developers get kind of anxious at the idea of telling the player how it works under the hood. Like they want to give you the impression that every connection is going to be fine, and every connection is not going to be fine. We know this. It is impossible. But unfortunately, I feel like the progression of that has gone backwards because MKX, MK11, Injustice, all the NRS games, they have ping, they have Wi-Fi indicator. Some of them do. And then Guilty Gear Strive came out. It has a ping. It has the rollback frame indicator, which I guess helps. You can't tell what connection you're connecting to before the match, which feels like a thing that is sorely missed. Type Lumina, you don't know what connection you're gonna get in Type Lumina. You have no idea. And then KOF has the bar system, which, by the way, the bar system, you know what's confusing to me? When you're loading in on the loading screen in KOF in the beta, it shows a connection quality for you and a connection quality for the other person. What does that even mean? There's 2 levels. If it's peer-to-peer, wouldn't it just be 1 level? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, that's confusing.
I don't know. I mean, next time any of you go in there, just look at it. Just look at the screen. It says versus, and then in the top left and the top right, it shows a bar, and then it shows a different bar. And I'm like, what does that mean? How is that working? I have no idea. So I highly recommend to any developers out there to please just tell us the raw numbers. I promise you, we all understand it. Other than that, though, I like the gameplay. I think I'm not really like a KOF guy, so a lot of the stuff that people are complaining about, like for example, everyone I talk to complains about Kyo's red kick not being a reverse DP. I don't really have any second thoughts about it because I'm not a Kyo player, so I was like, oh, okay, he just does this, and it just all right, well, that's what I gotta do.
It's different from his B&B from 14. So
Right,
it's
right.
like it took me about like 20 minutes to get used to it, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of a useful tool as like a combo filler, so you'll be using it a lot.
The main thing for me is like they made like okay, it wouldn't be an SNK game unless they made some bizarre decisions that seem completely out of left field. And they've decided for some reason to just completely get rid of the reverse DP input like altogether.
Yeah.
Like anything that used to be reverse DP is now like back and then Corsical back. And like new moves are that too. Like I started out playing Dolores and I was like, whoa, this character has a back Corsical back. What a weird input. And then I went to Kyo and I was like, wait, how do I do red kick?
You know what? Here's the thing. Like I kind of understand why they did it, because like if you're teaching a new player like a fighting game and it has a Shoryu motion, like instinctively as a new player, like you wouldn't be able to figure out like how does like this motion actually work.
All right, but the game
Doing it
still has
out.
Shoryus
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like
and
the,
reverse
I
my
feel
DP
point
is
like
my
on
point
the other
is like
side.
when like one of the early like tips I got like way back in the day is like doing a shoryu, or in this case like a reverse shoryu, doing back and then a quarter circle motion, or like forward and a quarter circle motion, is a way to get a shoryu out.
Yeah,
So I feel like them doing that is like not is a way for, it's like an accessibility kind of like maneuver, but it's still hella weird. Like if you're ingrained in fighting games and you know how to do a shoryu motion, it's wild to like get used to a new motion for something that's been that's been something else for a long time.
yeah, I I don't really buy into this thing that supposedly fighting games are making themselves easier, because Guilty Gear Strive has that ridiculous input interpreter and it has a half circle back forward super inputs. So I'm like, if you wanted to confuse people, you did it. If you wanted to make it difficult. And the same goes for KOF. I mean, KOF still has all the motions and then they changed reverse DP. I don't feel like reverse DP is any harder than anything else, really.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's any.
it's a step in a direction. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, because like I don't have that perspective of like a new player getting into like the genre for the first time and struggling to make these motions happen, but
Well, it's just
it's a thing.
basic basic I mean, logic would dictate that if you know how to do a Shoryuken motion, then you should know how to do it the other way. So
yeah.
what's the
I mean,
issue?
yeah, it's basically a
The
shoryu motion on P2,
the
right?
issue, yeah, exactly. The issue is like, okay, how hard is this input to do in a combo, right? Then it's like, okay, well that's where you start testing people's execution. But I mean, that's not what this is. This is not a particularly difficult motion. And I feel like KOF is probably got plenty of harder things to deal with than that. It's
Yeah,
like
I just think it's easier to read from a visual standpoint, but yeah, as like in practice, it's whatever. It's just new.
yeah, it's just the difference, and I guess people are gonna like it or not. But it's probably not gonna change too much for too many people. Just something to get used to. Uh, I guess in terms of the rest of the gameplay, I was messing with Iori. Iori feels great in this version. Um, Kyo, I liked playing Kyo actually. I didn't mind too much the change that we were just discussing. I was playing Chris. Was the other character I was playing? I've never played Chris. He's cool.
Chris
Uh,
feels good in this one.
yeah.
Corin, how much of the Orochi team did you play in this beta? Because I didn't touch
Uh,
them at all.
I got some hands on with like every single character. I made sure to do that before I like went to bed last night.
All right, yo, tell me how weird it is tell me your perspective on the Orochi team with 13 mechanic or 14 mechanic.
Honestly, they work pretty well. Like Shermie feels a lot like O2 Shermie, but she's got some obviously like some of her moves work a little differently. Getting the follow up to her throws was like a little different in this one compared to some of the older games. But yeah, she feels like really rock solid, like a good grappler just in general, and she's got really easy hit confirms. I think everyone in general has really easy hit confirms in this version compared to like older KOFs, which
I
is
agree
something
with
that's
that.
good for me because I suck.
Yeah, like the window to chain like shorts and stuff like is
Yeah,
really lenient.
Yeah, that is.
Chris, it's weird because like Chris and Yashiro, I'm more used to playing their Orochi versions than like their regular character versions.
Super fair, yeah.
Yeah. But they feel good, like in general. Like Chris's JCD isn't quite like the god status it used to be, but he's
It
got
comes out a
some
lot
good
slower
stuff.
than I remember.
Yeah, that's on
Like
purpose.
you gotta hit CD just before you hit the apex of his jump.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing with that move. They were like, we don't want that to be a thing again.
Yeah, I feel like they toned down a lot of the belligerent like JCD kind of stuff. Like I know Kyo's it doesn't look as bad. Like also they toned down freaking J2's.
I was still seeing some people get blown the hell up by cross up J2C, so it's still pretty good. It doesn't have like as insane block stun as it used to though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that the gameplay is, KOF 14. They did a lot of stuff to make the game more accessible, which is why you've got auto combos that are still in the game. You've got universal inputs for supers and stuff like that. I don't know how much that's going to change in the final roster, like how much diversity they're going to give inputs. But in general, everyone seems to be pretty easy to use by a traditional fighting game sense. At least I, person who has played KOF a couple of times, found very easy to start playing. I've actually had a lot of fun just playing casual matches with people and just like trying things and just, I'm vaguely familiar with a lot of these characters. I'm definitely the outsider in this conversation. But I've had fun. I've had a really positive experience with the beta. I do want to say, in regards to presentation, the music is really good. I don't know how anyone else feels about that. I really enjoy the music.
Yeah, the music's been pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like I've always been positive about the King of Fighters, especially starting with like 13 and then going to 14. 15 is like phenomenal.
Yeah, I really like the music. I like the UI slash menu systems that they're using. So a lot of people kind of said, "Oh, the UI doesn't look interesting or anything." I think it looks great. I think it tells you everything you need to know. It is very easy to read. Everything is where you think it's gonna be. And I do think they really went for like a very high contrast color scheme. It kind of
I like that a
feels
lot.
Yeah, it kind of
It's high
feels like
visibility.
yeah, it feels like a KOF 98. I was like, wow, this really feels like an old KOF game with like these really bright popping colors. And the characters,
My favorite thing is like how compact like the meters are. Like
Oh yeah.
they're not being obtrusive. They're not trying to like, cover a bunch of like stuff on the ground, which is, very useful if you're fighting like let's say Dolores, like she has all these like
Yeah,
mud
she's
dudes on the
the little
ground.
sand
So
monster. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
exactly.
was gonna say, I mean, I think that the presentation, they went for this high contrast thing, which looks really good in person. On streams, obviously it's very readable. One of the first things I thought about the game when we saw it, I was like, this is really easy to look at. This is really visually pleasing to look at, because this is an issue that I had with Guilty Gear Strive. I was like, this looks really hard to see what's going on. Uh, and I even criticized Street Fighter V for this, because Street Fighter V has motion blur. And I think that's really
Mhm.
bad. I've never liked the use of motion blur in that game. I feel like it was just detracted from the presentation. So I was like, this looks really easy to read. It looks very crisp. And on my display, I mean, I have the PS4 Pro version. And
Oh no.
it does seem, yeah, so we'll get there. It does seem like there are version differences, like they've gone in and configured the engine to have certain features based on the console that you're using. So on PS4 Pro, it does look native resolution on 1080p. It looks really crisp. I don't know if it can be pushed higher than that. I don't know what the actual rendering resolution is. But it all looks really clean. I think Guilty Gear Strive is also 1080p on a PS4 Pro, but the way that that game designs itself, it has like this heavy anti-aliasing to make the cart like the anime lines work, right? Like it all has to be smooth. There can't be any like really crisp lines because then it doesn't look hand drawn or whatever. So it does look kind of muddy at times, depending on how you're looking at it. But this game, I feel, is extremely easy to watch, very easy to follow. So I think that's going to do a lot of work presenting the game in tournaments and offline settings. Looks great. I really gotta commend him for that. I don't have any problems with the graphics, as you can probably tell. I think it looks fine.
Yeah, it's a step up from 14, which I really like. They
Yeah,
definitely took the
absolutely.
time in between games to update all these models. Like, and he's not in the beta, but that fool is looking mad handsome
Yeah, he is
in the
Yeah,
actually.
trailers.
I
for
think
those
looks
who don't
great.
remember, when 14 came out, it released pretty rough. There were like not much in the way of shaders on the character models, and then later on they released an update that like gave some characters abs and stuff like that, threw some
Yeah,
shaders on there, made it look
Oh
much
yeah.
nicer. And
yeah.
then Samurai Showdown came out and looked much nicer because they did a lot more stuff with shaders in that too. And it looks like they've really like pulled what they learned from that update and doing Samurai Showdown and put it in this game because it looks
Yeah, it
much
reminds me
nicer.
of Sam Show.
I mean, you got a lot. There's been so much time in between, like the development of 14 to now. It's like they've definitely found like their comfort zone when it comes to like an art style, which is very welcomed, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I um I guess my final thoughts on the presentation. Oh, the last thing I was going to say, the online lobbies are really great. this is this is
Oh, can
not
we run
something.
tournaments? Is this happening?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. If you guys don't know, there's three different types of lobbies that you can create. One is, well, there's two types, okay? And then one of those types is divided into two kind of formats. So you can create single versus, or you can create party versus. Single versus creates a queue where two people are playing and everyone else spectates. And by the way, the spectator works like a dream. It's great. Um, and the other one is party versus. Now, KOF 14 party versus had like 5 different things going on at once. This is not that. What it is essentially, while think of the single queue, but there's 3 queues this time. So up to 3 matches can happen simultaneously, and you can join a queue to see which one is happening. And that's all I want. That's all I want. A lot of people were discussing like, yo, party mode from KOF 14, that's gotta be there. It's not quite there. Not every mode is implemented, but the necessities are there. There's a lot of options to customize, like if you're playing team battle or single battle. There's how many sets you can run, and by the way, there is instant rematch. You can do that. All you need to do is when there's 2 people, instead of being kicked out, you can just rematch again. Just do it again, bap bap bap, as many times as you want. You can set the limit of sets, per game, per the 2 players, the matchups, I guess whatever you want to call it. And it works great. It all feels really really functional. Didn't have too many bugs with it. If anything, I had more issues with the matchmaker because I guess so many people were trying to matchmake that it just couldn't respond to every request and it was showing errors. But I imagine that is just like a thing with everyone trying it. So big big kudos to the development team for really prioritizing online. Now, I do want to mention what Corin said. PS4 Pro, like I said, there are version differences. So apparently there's an issue, and I've noticed it myself, where between loading, between characters getting knocked out and the next one coming in, the game just introduces rollback frames. Like it just adds rollback frames. Like if the game was like 0 to 1 rollback frames the entire first round, you go to the next round, 3 rollback frames for no reason. And by the end of it, it can be really unstable for some reason, unless the connection is really close, in which case it doesn't seem to happen as much. I mean, this is what a beta's for, right? To find stuff like this. I feel like this is something you would find when you have a lot of different hardware being tested, instead of, the development kits or, the couple of retail units that SNK might have for testing, right? This is one of those things that betas are for. So I'm not too particularly concerned about it, but a lot of people were complaining about it, and it is, a known issue that they're gonna work on. And I think that's what we got for King of Fighters. Anyone else want to add anything about their experiences with the beta?
Button config's real good.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, it is. It really, yeah. I feel like they've really, this game loves us in terms of like organizing stuff. Like it just all works so well. If like we've been living in the Guilty Gear Strive hotel bathrooms for so long that it feels very nice to have a game with really great configuration settings. And network could be worked on a little bit, but everything else is great.
Yeah, I can't wait to get in arguments of like, what's the proper way how to like set buttons, where it's gonna be box layout or rainbow layout. It's gonna be like 13 all over again.
Taiwan layout.
Hey man, people can do what they like, I guess. So let's talk about the next topic. Next up, I had to like pinch myself when I read this, but it's true. So I'm gonna read the headline that Panda Global has published on their website. I'm just gonna read it. It says, "Panda and Nintendo partner for the first officially licensed Smash Bros. Circuit." Now, that in and of itself doesn't sound too surprising. Nintendo does, circuits. They did World Championships. They did other events for their Smash games in the past. That's not crazy. All right, now let's read the first line of the article that they released that I just read from. Panda is proud to announce we will be operating the first ever officially licensed championship circuit for both Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Smash Bros. Melee games. So they explained that this is a series of events based in North America that will kick off in 2022 and lead to a single championship with cash prizes for competitors in both titles. More info is on the way, how to qualify, where to watch, more details. I do want to add one little bit of context that is later on, that the circuit will include online qualifiers for Ultimate, only Ultimate, right? Just to get the elephant out of the room, and in-person qualifiers for both Ultimate and Melee once large-scale events return, so these must be running alongside existing Smash majors. This is really surprising. This is like, I don't know. This is coming at a very particular time for the Smash community. What do you guys think about this? Daryl, tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the Smash tournament scene is about to pop off going into 2022. I know Genesis is hosting their big yearly event in NorCal. So yeah, that's a high profile tournament. I'm not sure if it's gonna be part of the circuit, but I hope it is,
Yeah, I
because like
wouldn't be
it would definitely,
surprised.
yeah. I mean, giving the reputation for Genesis, this definitely would be a really good starting, especially as a statement of saying, "Hey, this is what this partnership is looking like. We are like, if Nintendo, like, the Smash scene is so grassroots, like especially in North America. So like it'd be a statement to say, hey, if Nintendo's partnering with all these grassroots major tournaments, then yeah, this is definitely a sign of good things to come in the future.
I
Main thing for me is
yeah,
it's
talk
like
to me, Corn.
it's like a huge turnaround on like Nintendo's general policy on like tournaments, because like for a long time like we couldn't have Melee at anything Nintendo was officially sponsoring. Like they were going out of their way to try and kill the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially during the COVID era, because like when Slippy came out, like I understand that Nintendo does not want to, proliferate the use of Slippy because that's not a Nintendo developed like product, right? So that's why we don't see, online qualifiers for Melee in this in that announcement, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah, like hearing that Nintendo is finding a way to incorporate Melee into, a product that they are comfortable with hosting, like that's definitely new, like good news for us, especially after, you know
Yeah,
almost 2 years of, forcing ourselves to play online.
yeah, I mean, let's talk about logistics of this for a minute, right? Because this is where I have some skepticism. So my mind goes to like, how does this work in an offline setting, right? When this happens, it's like Melee in 2021 is a Nintendo product and a series of mods, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you guys have, I mean, maybe people who are watching this, maybe you guys don't know. I mean, if you've ever watched a Melee tournament, right, and they're showing you this crisp 4K display, right? Like if you've ever asked, like I don't know if you guys ever ask yourself, because it's kind of second nature for every other title, like how are they getting this game that runs on a GameCube at 480p up to like 1080p, 4K, to show it on a stream for it to look good? How is that happening? Let me tell you how. There's a program called Slippy. It's called Slippy Nintendo. It's a fork of Nintendo that is operated by the people who develop Slippy. And the way it works is that it sends the state of the game over the internet to an emulator. Okay? That emulator, like Dolphin, you can upsample to arbitrary resolutions. You can make the game look super crisp. And this is running on a stream PC somewhere. That stream PC is piping out what you see on the TV, right? When you're watching like a very high definition stream of Melee. Now, does that fly in this circuit? Is that allowed? If it is, then the precedent is huge. And the other thing is, a lot of these, Melee, they run these things on official Melee discs pretty much more often than not at these big events. I mean, they have them, right? But they also install modifications to the consoles so that controllers can be normalized. If you guys have never heard of something called UCF, or Universal Controller Fix, for Smash, then go look that up, because apparently not all GameCube controllers are built equal. And when you find that out, then you start to realize that competitive Melee only works if you can normalize what kind of controller you have and the inputs that you're allowed to perform. And so we're talking about two things that have greatly improved the experience of playing Melee that require emulation, which we already know Nintendo's not a fan of, and two, modifying official hardware, right? Because either you are running that fix through an emulator or you are modding your Wii console, in this case, to have that fix applied. Because the way it works is that you have it running on an SD card in a modded Wii. I mean, is that okay with them? There's no denying it. We all know this stuff. I'm sure, and the guys at Panda are very, very serious about Smash, regardless of how you feel about them in traditional fighting game spaces. They're very serious about Smash. They do a great amount of work there. There is
They
no
sponsor
denying.
so many Melee players too.
Yeah,
so
they do.
that-
They have their
it's
own
almost like their
hardware.
bread and butter.
Yeah, exactly. They have their own hardware. They have their own events. They have their own players. They take this stuff super seriously. So my question is like, are they willing to sacrifice those things to run this? I don't know. What do you guys think? Corin,
Well,
what do you
I
think?
definitely don't want to see like things returning to the era where serious Smash players would buy entire lots of GameCube controllers and then test them one by one until they found one that worked right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, I mean, like 99% of people don't, maybe they don't realize how good they have it or something like that. But I mean, like if you're gonna know to incentivize people like, oh, we can run our Melee tournaments. Well, it's like, oh well, first, this does not affect online, which was the big problem. To me, the big problem was that people were canceling, that Nintendo was pressuring offline or online events rather, right? That was always the thing, because I mean, the Evo situation did happen and all that, and they had tried to stop people from playing Melee offline, but for the past few years, Melee was played offline. It happened, but what about online? That happened this year. That happened last year. Is that nothing is decided there. So the benefit of this particular circuit for that aspect of the community, because a lot of people play Melee online, that is up in the air for them, right? So I hope that does. I don't imagine that ever getting resolved, but I mean, at least I hope that we get something, a behavior more similar to other fighting game publishers where they just, people play ST on Fightcade. Capcom ain't gonna say shit. You know what I mean? Nobody asks. Something like that. I hope that is what we get. But the other thing is like, well, what if the offline experience is just shitty? Like, what do you get out of that? Are the prize pools gonna be really big? Panda seems to make it seem like they will, because Dr. Allen, right, the guy who kind of like organizes Panda Global, he was talking on Twitter saying, this is his vision of like a career for Smash Bros. Players. And it's like, the history of Nintendo events is that they give people like gift cards as prizes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's
Shout out to the Splatoon tournament.
exactly. And I mean, like we all talk about this when we run our events. We have to acknowledge that there are laws in place, right? But if you're gonna make a statement like that, like this is the way forward for people to play Smash Bros as a professional esport, then it's like that is a value proposition. That's money. That's actual money. And it's like, oh, okay, so we dealing with money now? Is that going to be like a thing? Are there going to be salaried players? Who knows, right? Like the Pandora's box is open with this announcement, I feel.
Yeah, part of it is probably that like gambling laws in Japan have changed a lot since the Tokyo Olympics because they wanted to get gambling in there for all the tourists coming.
Uh-huh.
So esports payouts are becoming a thing. Like there's been a lot of like moving forward in terms of like the normalization of esports in Japan with like Apex and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that could be part of it.
I do want to add that Panda included a statement from Bill Trinan, who maybe some of you are familiar with that, who are listening from Nintendo's kind of staff, but he is the senior director of product marketing at Nintendo of America. So clearly the American branch sees something here. I haven't heard any statements from the Japanese branch. It doesn't look like we're going to get any info for a while. But yeah, this is the real deal. They're going to do it. And I hope, I hope upon hope, like I said, that the people at Panda take this seriously enough that they're not just going to be like, all right, we're going to run a couple of Smash events. and it's gonna have some really bad prize pools, and we can't use Slippy, and we can't use UCF, and all this stuff. But hey, Nintendo's not gonna shut us down this time. It's like I don't know if the community would want to deal with that, or would really give it a lot of support. I feel like if people found out that UCF was not in play, that would be a deal breaker for a lot of people who play competitively, because that is a big thing. So yeah, I mean, I have no thoughts on this in my how it's going to impact me. I don't really play Smash. I enjoy other platform fighters in the space a lot more, to be honest with you. But if they can make this work, then awesome. I'll be happy. I hope that there is genuinely a path forward for them. Because the other thing that people have talked about is like, well, this is coming off many years of Nintendo trying to sabotage people. So a lot of people in the
Yeah.
community were like, why are you doing this? Like, what do we get out of this now? Why would we deal with these people after everything they've done? Another thing
Yeah,
is
it's a complete 180 on like
exactly.
their old standard of how they would do things.
And the other thing is Project M. A lot of people were like, hey, you guys collaborated with Nintendo. And I wouldn't say, I guess collaborated is the wrong word, but rather they were pressured by Nintendo to make actions that would hinder the visibility of Project M, which is, as we all know, a fan mod of a game by Nintendo. So it's a modded version of Smash Bros. Brawl. And I think a lot of people have kind of understood that this means Project M is probably never going to have any sort of like presence at these events, right? Like they're not going to be able to run side events. They're not going to be able to do main stage events. God forbid, because Nintendo probably cares a lot about the optics here, which is a shame because I think developing other titles in the genre is hella important. I have had a lot of fun trying some of the things that people are coming up with. But I guess that's the cost of, fan games and modded works and things like that.
Can you imagine getting paid 50 grand for winning Project Merkava?
Dude.
Dude, that announcement was so left field. I was like, yo, I'm with it.
Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, that kind of creativity is really, really active in the platform fighter scene right now, because we're seeing, games coming out left and right. That multiverses game is about to come out. That we're not going to talk about that. I feel like there's a lot that is questions left unanswered at the moment by that. But I mean, like, the space is growing, so now this is kind of the sign of the times changing. Maybe we'll have to see. But yeah,
Yeah,
And
from my perspective, it comes at a really like opportune time for Nintendo, because like they released Sora earlier in the year. That's supposed to be the last DLC
that's the last DLC. Yeah,
character. Yeah, so in terms of like continuing how to market Ultimate, like this is probably their best shot post DLC cycle. Like
yeah, that's
uh,
the other thing. Marketing. It's a great way to get visibility on the game. That just they're not going to be doing updates. I don't know if they're going to work with Namco to make any more balance patches, but if they're not, then this is their way of getting visibility, I guess.
I'm also wondering if this means there's going to be a Melee re-release on the horizon.
Yeah, some people were talking about that. They were like, "Oh, well, what if they remaster Melee?" And then that's actually what you're going to be playing on. It's not old Melee, it's this new Melee that they're going to make. And it's like, well, maybe? I mean, I feel like there's no way, like, the bar has been set so high with Melee now. It's like rollback, spectator functions, quality of life stuff. Like,
Dude,
I hope.
I can't wait. Like if that actually comes out, I want to see if people will actually get really mad if like a very niche like glitch gets patched out. Like I don't know, like one of the Nest
Oh,
like
yeah.
really weird like stuff,
Oh,
like the
yeah. I
time bomb
mean,
or like
that's the thing.
stuff
Version
like that.
differences as well. Like, we had, like, the community in traditional spaces already had, like, a thing when the Plus R PC patch came out to make inputs, a little more lenient, right? And that was like a minor thing. But then suddenly everyone was like, wait, this changes a whole lot of competitive history where people have missed that input that it now patches. And so I imagine that the Melee community would feel the same way. They would be like, well, now this changes a lot of things, and this is basically a different game. And so, how well the competition translates to that comes into question. I'm I mean, it sounds like 2022 is going to be an exciting year for Smash Bros. That's all I got. I don't know. And
All
while you're
right.
at it, Nintendo, like, please fix the N64 Nintendo Switch thing that you guys are doing. Like, fix the online, and then add Smash 64, please. Thank you. I'll pay for that.
All right. So we talked about Project M. Let's just skip straight over Project N and go to the next letter.
Project L. You're so
L?
stupid. You're so Lord,
How long were you sitting on that segue?
so stupid. All right.
Basically, since you said Project M.
All right, let's talk about Project L. All right, so this came out like 2 hours before we started recording this, like I said. Uh yeah, I've been thinking about this for like the past 2 weeks cuz there was a Reddit post that said this month.
Should we preface what Project L is?
Sure. Project L is the fighting game being developed internally at Riot Games, okay? It is about characters from the League of Legends series or Arcane or Legends of Runeterra or however you interact with their characters. It is from that universe of characters. It's going to be a fighting game. And the only thing we knew that it was a fighting game. We saw 2 characters fighting and we saw some sketches, and then they said that they were going to go dark, and they did, and we didn't hear anything for like a year. Was it like a year, 2 years? I think it was 2 years. I don't know how long it was.
It felt like since what the Evo announcement.
Yeah, the
a
Evo.
long time ago.
Yeah, that feels like a universe ago, but that was like 2 years, I think, at this point. And so there was a Reddit post from I want to say Tom Cannon. Yeah, Tom Cannon. That said that they were going to reveal something this month. And they did. And it finally happened. And I was thinking about this the entire month. I'm like, any day now, I'm going to look to my screen and somebody's going to send me a Project L trailer. And I'm just going to have to deal with that. And so there it is. So, Project L. It is a assist-based fighter, is what they said. So, what is unclear is whether or not you can play as 2 characters, but you will pick 2 characters. One of them is the character that you will control primarily, and the other is an assist character. It's unclear if you can switch to the other character. I don't think you can, but there were some sequences of the gameplay that they showed us that left it a little ambiguous. I don't know if maybe there's an extra mechanic somewhere in there that they weren't willing to show us. But basically, you pick 2 characters. One of them is your main character to control. The other one is a character that serves as your assist. If you've ever played Dengeki Bunko, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or if you played the really bad version of Marvel 1 on PlayStation, that's exactly what we're talking about. So they showed us, I think, about 3 minutes of gameplay with all the cuts that they were showing. They showed a couple characters that we hadn't seen before. They went over some of the assists. They went over the input style that they've chosen. And they talked a little bit about the online play that they're going to use. That we did not see anything about what it looks like. We just know what kind of technology they're using.
Just to add on, I think this is also like the debut of Echo as a playable character.
So Echo is the first new character that they showed. I think it's the only.
Yeah, because I feel like the original announcement only had like Ari and Jinx. And
it had
you could see Darius in the background.
Yeah, Ari, Jinx, and Ari, Jinx, Katarina is in some of the footage, and Darius, and then Echo is the character that they kind of went into detail with about how some of the stuff that the character can do. And if you've ever played, Echo in League of Legends, he will look very familiar. He has a rewind function, is what they said, and it works the way it does in League of Legends, where you press a button and it will put you back to where you were on a timer, right? Like it kind of moves a little further back in time, and then he has this like little wheel that he sends out that stuns enemies, and so he has that as well. It works. It kind of gives like a crumple state, is what I'm supposed to understand in this game. And
it's like an extended hit stun.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. The animation didn't look great, but I'll get to that in a minute. And a lot of characters had a lot of vertical actions. There was a lot of air. Like Ari has like an air dash going on, and then like Echo could like launch you in the air and do air like chains and stuff like that. But it was all quite slow, I will say. I don't know if it was the trailer that was like rendered wrong or something. Uh, but yeah, they showed
Yeah,
us
it,
a
it felt
little,
like it
a
was
little bit.
like running at a slower frame rate than like the animations feel like they're animated for.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I watched like the version on Twitter and the version on YouTube, and I was like, this feels wrong. Maybe it was just rendered for a different format than they intended, so it looks weird. But we got an idea of what they want to do, and I wanna say my first impression wasn't too amazed. And I guess part of that is that we've been, the community has been discussing for so long, like just theorizing, like what could they bring to the table? What is it? What crazy thing are they gonna do to make this game work? And the answer is not much. They just kind of made a fighting game and added an assist function, and all the characters do very traditional things. And I was very surprised by that because I was like, oh, this is not very different from like a Street Fighter, for example. Now, the big departure is that the the buttons, the inputs are all one button inputs. Like button, like forward and a button is a special move. And then if you want to do like a combo, it's like two buttons. It's like down heavy, for example, and then assist one, and then that's a combo. And they've explained that the reason for that is because they want keyboard to be the easiest way to play the game, right? And that makes sense because a lot of people who are playing League of Legends currently, you play that game with a mouse and keyboard. You have a keyboard in front of you. So it makes sense that the game is easily playable on keyboard. Now, a lot of people maybe have strong feelings about directional inputs. I personally play all kinds of games, so I don't really have an opinion on them. They're just a way to make your game. Um, but I must say, I didn't feel particularly inspired by anything that was going on. And a lot of it is what Corin was saying. It feels like the game was really slow when we were watching it. And I don't know if the game being slow is what people would be interested in because it didn't look like the damage was high either. Nobody got knocked out.
Were even life bars?
There were no life bars. There were no life bars, but people were doing like these really long
did see
combos.
a like a shot of UI, but during like the gameplay, they didn't show us like any damage or anything like
Yeah,
that.
they didn't show us any damage. The combos were pretty long. They were like 15, 20 seconds of just like juggles and stuff.
Yeah, Ari was keeping fools in the air.
Yeah,
Forever.
and so I imagine that the damage can't be particularly high to enable that sort of thing. But I do think it. I mean, it didn't really do anything exciting for me. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. What did you think, Corin? What did you think of it?
Well, the main thing I'm wondering about is like the assists. Like, are they gonna be like Aquapaza, where you have like a neutral one and a forward one? Like, do you get multiple assists, or is it just the one assist per character?
I think it
And,
is
like,
multiple.
what kind of resources do they work on? Is it like time based? Like,
yeah,
they have their own meter.
that wasn't explained.
Yeah, like I think getting into the mechanical nitty gritty and stuff like fighting games, like it's very important. Like for a while, I was convinced KOF 15 wasn't real because they hadn't told us anything about the game, but they kept showing us character trailers.
Yeah, people felt that's very true. People felt very fatigued about the fact that we just didn't know what the game played like. And it turns out the game plays fine, right? But people were very, tired of seeing like the characters. Like, where's the game? Show us the characters fighting each other. And I mean, they showed us gameplay, but we didn't get the full picture. And I think, in my head, I had this idea of a fighting game. League of Legends is a very flashy game, right? It's a team fight, and things just start exploding. It looks like a fucking shmup game. Like this guy over here has like a giant explosion, and this guy's got like a robot arm, and it just goes across the screen, and everything gets very explosive on your screen. And then this game is like not that. It's actually very tame.
Yeah, that's actually hella true. Because like when I used to play League of Legends way back in the day, it always felt like, it's every character is more like a burst. Like their entire toolkit is like one gigantic burst where you like do all your skills one at a time, like in rapid succession. In this game, it's like I don't know why Ari is out here like doing elongated air combos when she has like a really big burst, like kind of
Yeah,
like
exactly.
playstyle.
I felt very, so part of it is me hyping myself up, obviously, right? But I was like, hey, uh, where I always thought they would do something like summoner spells would be in the game, or they would add like runic powers, kind of like the Infinity Stones of Marvel. I was like, they're gonna add something like this. Like, it's just so iconic to what League of Legends is that there's no way that they just leave that stuff out. And lo and behold, we have a very, I think, very traditional looking fighting game.
I mean, it's still in development. Things could happen. Like for all we know, there can be like cross-teching gems.
Yeah,
Echo does seem like a character that David Serlin would develop.
Dude,
yes,
here's the thing.
yes.
All right, when I want to know what the PC like standpoint is, because I remember when Echo first like got released in League of Legends, that fool was a menace. I wonder if there's like if PTSD like kicked into anybody who looked at that trailer and be like, I hate this character on sight.
I mean, I played a little bit of him. He was cool. He's all right. He's a cool design character, and I mean, they seem to be centering around this Arcane show that they're making, and he's in that. So that seems to be the basis for what they're doing. Which the Riot has always been very good at brand coordination like that, so not too surprised. But yeah, I mean, they said that they're using rollback. Obviously, they got the guy who invented that on the team. There's no question.
Yeah, on top of like Riot's pre-existing servers, like I'm pretty sure like
yeah, there
there's
was
gonna be
that
a
thing.
leg up upon other stuff.
Yeah, there was that thing that they were saying that they were going to use servers to relay your connection. Now, that concept has been kind of stained in the FGC because of what happened with Virtua Fighter 5, where people who were nearby randomly had really bad connections because their connections were being relayed really far away to a server, and then they went back to the other guy, and it would have been a lot better just to go P2P, like peer-to-peer. But, I mean, I understand this concern for anybody except for Riot Games. Riot Games is fucking everywhere, okay?
They like invented their own internet backbone.
Yeah, exactly. Like
America
I like
make League play better.
Like when you
They have
hear
so
like
much money.
exactly, when you hear like Sega is doing this, then it's like, yeah, well, who the fuck is Sega? Why are they doing that? Like just give us peer to peer. Like don't reinvent the wheel, just make a solid netcode system. And it's like Riot Games, dude, they have servers in like every far stretch of the world. Okay? Now, the thing is nobody has done this kind of system particularly well yet. So they will probably maybe be the first. I don't know if that other DC game that said that they were going to have that Multiverses said they were going to do the same. I don't know how that's going to work out for them. So like I have no doubt honestly that the netcode is going to be ridiculously good. I mean, that is their pedigree. That is the people that they've hired, and the other games that they make have good online play. So there's no doubt in my mind. So I guess we'll have to see if I'm right about that. But I don't know. I wasn't too particularly interested. I'm obviously going to give it a try because it's free. It's going to be free. That's like the obvious assumption. If it's not, then maybe I won't buy it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But if it's free,
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Maybe
I
they're
just
gonna do like
yeah.
they're gonna do like a Killer Instinct rotating cast because that's how it is in League of Legends.
Oh, for sure, dude. They're gonna do that. It's not even a question. Honestly, to me, it's not even a question. Now, the thing is, I don't like that about League of Legends. So I couldn't see myself. If I'm not particularly wowed by this game, I don't see myself being particularly invested in that sort of progression.
Dude, as a TO, I hate that model so much.
Yeah, I want to talk about that whenever we talk about that multiverses thing, because
I can't wait to get somebody's console for when we have to run the League of Legends fighter and they only have like 20 characters out of 200.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think about with these F2P fighting games now. There's 2 F2P fighting games just got announced in the past like week, right? And the thing is, like, those games work because they have to, put a carrot on a stick in front of you and make you, do the progression. It's like, well, what if it's at a local? Then what? Do I have to call Daddy Riot and be like, hey, Riot, can you please approve this console to have all the characters? They're like, no, fuck you. It's like, is that what we're going to do? Is this how it's going to be? I hope not. But at least, the free-to-play fighting game that is out there, Fantasy Strike, we just mentioned Serlin, doesn't do that. So I hope that is the model that people follow, because I imagine playing offline would be very difficult otherwise.
Yeah, I have like this game developer like quandrum I want to like pose out there
What's
for
up?
this game.
Yeah, talk to
All
me.
right. All right. So, we've seen a lot of like we've seen in the past games from a pre-existing franchise trying to like going out of their comfort zone and going into like fighting games. The biggest one recently being Grand Blue Verse. And that game is definitely one of those games where it wanted to introduce like, casual uh gotcha mobile game players into the fighting game genre.
The
I
game's so
don't know.
pretty.
Yeah, it's also very bare bones, like kind of super traditional down to the T. Like, there's not a lot of really weird, like wild stuff happening in Grand Blue Versus. Whereas, like, I'm looking at Project L. I don't know if this is I'm not sure if the mechanics in this game is here to entice fighting game players to play League or get
I,
into
you
that
know,
that multiverse or the other way around.
it's the other way around. 100%. It's the other way around. I'll be honest. I think that was a question that somebody else asked. I was like, well, because the thing is, the thing that we were talking about, it's like, well, why doesn't this have? Because I was asking myself, why doesn't this have any crazy mechanics? Why does it all look so, so I guess evenly paced and like very fundamental, bare bones fighting game? It's like, well, it's because it's not for you. It's not for the people who play, fighting games every day. So they need to see like a crazy mechanic, right, to like be interested. It's like for people who don't play these games. Like, oh, okay, this is how you play a fighting game. This is the basics of doing, footsies, or this is the basics of a corner combo or stuff like that. It feels very introductory, I guess
I
is
don't know. My thing is like every time a company comes out and they're like, "This is our big new esports focused fighter," they just make Street Fighter V again.
that's
Street
I
Mhm.
Fighter
mean,
Street
that's what
Fighter
I'm
V already
thinking.
exists. Like Street Fighter V already exists, and you know what? Not everyone likes Street Fighter V. In fact, like a lot of people really dislike Street Fighter V. Like I saw a big outpouring in other games because people were like, "Man, I don't like Street Fighter V."
Yeah. I I'm really surprised. I mean, I get it. Just the thing is, Rising Thunder, that game happened, and it doesn't look like they're using
Yeah,
a
but
lot of
that
those
game was just
ideas.
Street Fighter 4.
Yeah, exactly. But that game was just Street Fighter 4. But that game is sick. But that's the thing. This game is not that. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the stuff that they've changed. But you know what? It's probably going to be a long time before we hear about this game again.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much criticism they're necessarily going to hear. To be honest, I think they're just putting something out there to give it visibility. To be
I
honest,
mean, I think the last time we heard anything Project L related is that one secret beta test that somehow nobody's leaked anything about,
yeah.
which is like
I
a fucking rarity in FGC land.
yeah I don't know. I feel like they're not that interested in really what the reaction is going to be, unless like, I don't know, because I feel like people. I feel like the people who do the optics on their stuff are going to be like, yeah, they're going to hate. Of course they are. The fighting game community. Uh,
Ne- Never pleased at anything.
yeah, but okay. Well, we'll get back to them later, I guess. So last thing that we're going to talk about, just very briefly, is that Climax Ignite Type-4 is happening right now. Climax is finally back. If you guys don't know, it is a tournament centered around games developed by French Bread. Although there are other games that have involved that we'll talk about. So I want to give a quick rundown of where we're at so far. Day 1 has passed, Saturday, and day 0 was on Friday, and there was a Type Lumina bracket at 404 Esports in Atlanta, so not nearby. I do want to read back the top 8 of that event. So it's going to be number 1, Scott Vermillion. Number 2, Joe Biden. So if you guys don't know who that is, that's Red Blade. With a very good tag. Masoma, number 3. Lunar, number 4. DeKillsage and Akimi tied for 5th. Argent Rust and Aces High tied for 7th. So that is our top 8 for that event. Obviously, congrats to Scott for taking a victory in Type Lumina. And I do want to take it over to our what is the small bracket that we have? Dengeki Bunko Fighting Climax Ignition Singles. The top 8 is decided. Going from the winner side down, it's going to be Tamaki, I That Guy, Abister, Phosphate, Mouse, Ultra Kill Player. I cannot get the tag of that player. Rain and Stray Light P. The other games are in I want to say top 16 for Melty Blood. Yes, top 16 for Melty Blood and top 48 for Under Night. And top four is going to be top four teams for Gundam. Gundam Mbon is going to be playing, and all these top top brackets are going to be playing on Sunday morning. So you guys are going to be listening to this by then. So do check out the streams. It's going to be at twitch.tv/funkyp for the main streams. I believe Funky P is the main stream for all games. I can check for you in a second. Yeah, so
Funky P is like the main guy down there in Atlanta. So.
Funky P is going to be doing top 4 for Gundam, top 8 for Dengeki, top 8 for Melty Blood. Actress again, current code, right? Type Lumina did not have a main stage event because it came out later. And then top 8 for Under Night. So if you want to watch the mainstream, it's going to be Funky P. If you want to watch the last of the Melty top 24 to top 8, that's not top 16, my bad. It's top 24 to top 8. Then you can watch that on Data FGC. And then Uniclear is going to go down from top 48 to top 8 on that stream as well. This all starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay? So do check that out. It's going to be super interesting. I don't know if you guys have any favorite players to win any of these events. Do you guys have anyone you're rooting for? Anyone you want to shout out?
Scrat's probably the one person in Melty Blood that everybody's rooting for.
I'm not rooting for Shinobi to survive the event.
Yes.
Yeah.
we all want Ben to live.
Yeah, I know.
Buy a shirt.
Shinobi has been buy a shirt. Shinobi has been working super hard to make this happen. Obviously, Climax was one of those events that had to get canceled because of the COVID pandemic. So it's nice to see them back in full force. I do want to give a shout out to the other side event happening tomorrow, which is Makai World Tour. Vampire Savior is coming back. It's going to be available to people who have registered for the main event. It's going to be a side tournament for Vampire Savior. It's going to be streaming at 12 o'clock Eastern tomorrow or today for those of you who are listening on the stream twitch.tv/Vampire Arcadia. So check that out. Do enjoy it. There's going to be a lot of stuff to watch when everything's wrapped up, so do look forward to the VODs being put out there. And yeah, I mean, it's really nice to see this community come together because a lot of these games, they exist in net play, but especially the Under Night scene, they come out so strong to play these games, and it's really nice to see like a huge event again. Like there were so many players for Under Night. Like seeing so
Under
many
Night deserves it.
Yeah, seeing so many Under Night players is wild. And
yeah, because so the big thing is like Under Night during like this past couple of years is because it's delay based netcode and trying to force your way to play it online is like kind of a really feels bad like experience. So like it's really, so I feel like Uni lost a lot of momentum during this past like year or two, and seeing an event like Climax and Nights and seeing a full bracket of like really strong players flying pretty much everywhere across the United States to show up to show support for Under Night is gonna get that win back in its sales that it really needed.
Yeah, that's 239 registered attendees for Under Night. So that is the I think that's like
it's easily the biggest tournament there.
Yeah, it's easily the biggest tournament, but I think it's like 70% of the total registers on Smash EG. So it's like a really big showing. I want to shout out Gundam Mbon. I got in on the Gundam craze following this event, just kind of seeing like what is this game. So this was the other game that they snuck in, and then Type Lumina snuck up on all of us, right? So Gundam will enjoy the spotlight this year. It is the first game that's going to be streamed today, right, on Sunday. And if you've never watched that game, watch it. I don't know what I expected, but I walked away like mesmerized by it. Like, what? You guys put two robots against each other, and like two teams of two robots against each other. You guys like beat the crap out of each other with it. That's awesome. How are we not all playing this? And,
it's definitely Bandai's best like arena fighter by far.
It is, yeah. And I mean, if you have any opinion on arena fighters, forget it, bro. This is something completely different. This is a different type of thing. This is a completely different beast. This is why arena fighters are very hard to pin down, because something like Mbon just plays completely different to everything out there. Now, with that said, I do want to say that one of the teams of this tournament is named Wen's Armored Core. And you know what? When's Armored Core? I agree.
Okay,
J
so
Bell's on that. Talk to me,
From
Corey.
Software hired mech designers recently. Now, I don't want to alarm
Oh
anyone
no.
because that could just be for making new figs or something, or doing another
does
music
does
OST root collection. But they were hiring mech designers,
I want to
so
ask you
there's
something?
hope.
Does Armored Core get figure releases in 2021? Is that a thing?
I think they still do some sometimes. I think they're usually like re-releases though.
Right.
But
Okay.
usually, if there's like Armored Core news on the horizon, it's merch.
Right. Okay.
Like 9 times out of 10, it's merch.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, Bandai has a huge merch thing. Yeah, but
I mean,
I've
that's
been,
the whole thing.
yeah, I've been, deep in the rabbit hole of Gundam lately, learning through Mbon. So I'm like, I'm super impressed. I'm looking forward to watching the stream. Unfortunately, the Saturday streams for Mbon were not able to be provided because of an issue at the venue, is what we were told. Uh, but you guys can that's been sorted. Hopefully, it looks like it's been sorted for everybody, so you'll be
Can
able
I
to
also
enjoy
sing the
that.
praises of Mbon real
Sure,
quick?
yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, the main thing is because I'm NorCal, I'm always near the Brett, and he's like also one of the big TOs for
Shout outs to
Melty or
Brett.
not Melty, for Gundam for this past like several years. In fact, he's like when we co-founded Anime Evo together, like Gundam was also on that thing. I just want to say that Mbon is a super dope game. It's relatively really cheap to find on sale on PlayStation, and the best thing about it is that there's a LAN option now for that game. So
Yeah.
before it used to be really awkward in tournament because you got to have like 4 to 8 PS4s all linked up to hotel Wi-Fi. Nah, those days are over. So it's a really great game to actually get in, play in tournament, and even from a casual like standpoint, if you're a big Gundam fan, they have like all the Gundams from like day one to like now to like present day. It's super great. It's like a huge fan game, like not even a fan game. It's great for fans to like witness the history of a Gundam.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say, if you're wondering, the online for casual play is really good. Actually, I've had no issues playing it online. Just play
It's
wired.
all peer to peer, right?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, the bigger question to me was like what kind of system they were using to kind of like manage latency. I mean, truthfully, I've been playing this game with a friend of mine in the UK. That's how I've been learning the game, and it's like it feels the same. It feels great. It
That's amazing.
it has it has decent online. I don't know what they did, because
Oh, the
this was
one
an
thing I do
arcade
like
game.
about the yeah, it's one of the most popular games in the arcade. I think one of the coolest like design like perspectives about this game is the fact that since it's 2v2, like tiers in that game doesn't really matter too much as long as you find a really good partner, like any like and you guys
Oh
just
yeah,
gel, like just like you don't have to worry about like tiers too much until you get to like the higher echelons of like playing. It's like if you have a good partner, they'll cover you and vice versa.
yeah. So when you guys watch, listen to this or watch this, however you decide to enjoy it, and you hear us talking about Mbon, I gotta disagree with Daryl. I did not find the game very cheap. I had to buy it on sale. It was $30, and the game is like $60. I don't know how often it goes on sale, but watch out
I
for a
will say
sale.
it's a lot cheaper than Gundam Versus the very first time they tried to bring that series to the United States. Like there was DLC all the time in that game,
Yeah,
and it was
there's
really bad.
only one item of DLC for
Yeah,
Gundam. One single character is the DLC, so you don't got to worry about that. If you want to get yourself a copy of the game, obviously it's on PlayStation. That's the only thing. So check it out. Again, Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme versus Max Boost on. Just look up Mbon. Just look up MBON. Look it up. And I think with that, we've kind of covered the gamut of the games and the topics that are showcasing Climax of Night. Obviously, I'm going to be watching them all day, on the day that you guys are going to be watching this, and I'll probably have more thoughts to share later. But I think that just about calls it on our show. Thank you guys for tuning in to our inaugural episode where we talk about the news. Look forward to more content, more variety content, like stuff about us. We're going to be trying out games on these shows. We're going to be talking about our experiences, sharing our thoughts on organizing events, teaching you guys how to do things. But we just want to really get you guys familiar with our style of speaking, the way that we converse, and the kind of stuff that we care about. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. I think that's gonna be all from us. Daryl, you got anything last to say?
The only thing I want to say is like if you guys have feedback, because this is our inaugural episode, please leave a comment on the YouTubes, and if you want to contact us on the Twitters, it's 956 Productions.
Corin, what you got?
A powerful hunger.
Powerful hunger. All right, we're gonna let this man go get some food, and we're gonna go back to doing what we love. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you next time.
See ya.
Peace.